For today's focus, I really want to lay the foundation for this entire event and take a moment and talk about, first of all, what I mean by fem power, what I mean by sacred feminine fire. Although I'm guessing if you're drawn to this, you may have a little bit of an inkling or a feeling or a sense, but I just want to share, what I mean by this when I'm using these words and how it can help you and why it is so, so important. So, I want to start off by just sharing like some of the signs that you likely need a major boost of fem power, of, igniting that inner sacred fire. And I say feminine fire, and we'll get into that distinction in a little bit, because fire typically can be more of a masculine yang energy. And for example, water wouldn't typically be considered more of a yin, feminine energy. But when I talk about this sacred feminine fire, for me, it is almost like a passionate sacred union of, say, perhaps boiling the water with the fire, okay? As an example, if we're using the elements. And really igniting more than anything else that visceral whole body connection that allows you to be fully aligned with your goals and intentions. So I want to take a moment and let you know again some of the signs that you can benefit, or that you really are in need of this balancing, of this awakening, of this activation of your feminine fire and or power, okay? And some signs will include mental chaos, confusion, feeling a lack of clarity and having trouble making decisions, second guessing yourself, and really kind of having a scattered energy, trouble focusing or following through on things. And I used to be the queen of all of these things, okay? So I know. Other signs might include, on an emotional level, experiencing anxiety and depression, and especially if you are someone who is soul-led and has gifts to share, and again, wherever you're at on the journey in terms of, already having a biz, spiritual biz and doing your work or not, you have those gifts, and there's a part of you that feels like depressed and frustrated or anxious because something's off, something's missing, and you're not fulfilling your soul's work or purpose or calling, okay? And, whether you know what it is or not, whether you have the clarity and, are just having trouble with the steps to get there, again, wherever you are, there is this sense of frustration and emotional angst and anxiety, because when we're not, as soul, inspired women, as visionaries, when we're not living our purpose, when we're not in alignment with our calling and our truth, that anxiety, that depression, that frustration, those emotional feelings, even anger and rage, all of those things can be coming up. There can certainly be deeper issues that are not resolved, but they are also signs and symptoms, or signposts, if you will, that you're actually not living your purpose, that you are somehow, disconnected from your soul and your truth. Okay, and probably one of the biggest signs that this is going on, and potentially having been going on for quite some time, is chronic illness or health issues and or adrenal issues. Okay, and I want to take a moment and just share with you that, in case you don't know my story, I struggled for over a decade, if not two, with chronic fatigue, anxiety, and depression. And, went through this dark night of the soul which was like my spiritual initiation when I lost my mother and my first horse back in 2007. Now, you know, the piece around this that I really want to highlight for those of you who don't know my story is that this spiritual initiation of getting so sick, of at one point, you know, being diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease, really was this awakening, this spiritual crisis of being around me, realizing that I was disconnected from my purpose, from my sense of, you know, self, from, you know, my identity, if you will. And all of those things that were beforehand were actually, for that time, for some time, yes, that was part of my path, but they were not ultimately in alignment with my soul's work and my soul's truth, which is what the awakening, you know, helped me discover, right? And so that challenge, that physical challenge, that pain, that health struggle, okay, really was the gift that propelled me to discover my purpose and my path. And so, you know, that is the part that I want you to hear, that whatever struggle, whatever challenge you might be going through, okay, whether it be health, whether it be finances, whether it be relationships, okay, whatever challenge you're going through is actually the way forward. It is the golden key that is intimately connected not only with your greatest strengths and gifts, but I can bet you, given my personal journey and the many women I've worked with, that it's connected with your soul's work.